Welcome to the thefogvlog.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Easy Does It. When you've clicked on this, you know we're going to be talking about LA cream cheese icing. And you might also be thinking, why are we doing two Easy Does It's in 1 week? The reason is Mix Hacks is now completed. And it's a complete series that you can recommend to any new mixer out there. We didn't want to change anything to it or add anything additional to it. It's easy to follow content, and yeah, it's there. You know, it's in the playlist all together. So go out and share that for anybody that's interested to start out mixing. But now let's dive into cream cheese icing. Rich, do you want to kick off with market share?
Right. This is now quite a difficult segment because there's no real sort of direct competitor name-wise for LA cream cheese icing, although there are other icings and frostings on the market, but it's kind of a bit of a vague and indistinct sector. So I picked out some flavors that would probably be competitors or replacements for cream cheese icing in mixes. So let's just have a look at how those stack up. First of all, if we look at ELR, Loran cream cheese icing weighs in at 24,662 recipes. The closest to that, although again it's not in exactly the same realm, would be something like Flavor West cake batter dip, which comes in at 12,233, so roughly half of LA's market. Then we take quite a dip down to Flavora frosting in at 3,211. Wonder Flavors buttercream frosting, 1,132. One-on-one vanilla frosting at 361. And the new kid on the block, the Vape Train vanilla buttercream frosting, in at 307. So the drop-off from LA to the other frosting or icing flavors is quite steep at ELR. If we move across to ATF, LA CCI comes in at 3,217 recipes, 3,217. Next highest after that, strangely enough, is Flavora frosting, in at 623, so roughly about 1/5 of the market share of CCI. Then we've got FW cake batter dip at 496. Wonder Flavors buttercream frosting at 240. Vape Train vanilla buttercream frosting at 189, and one-on-one vanilla frosting lagging way behind at only 30. So again, quite interesting that Flavor West cake batter dip is quite popular on ELR, much less popular on ATF, where Flavora frosting takes over the second place. But the LA cream cheese icing at ATF still has roughly about a 60 to 70% market share in that sort of icing frosting realm. So quite a healthy market share leader in that section. But again, with Loran seemingly less and less interested in vaping, and the rise of these new flavor companies like Flavora, Wonder Flavors, Vape Train, we can expect to see that gap close quite dramatically over time.
Yeah, so I did some single flavor testing on this. I did 1% and 2%. At 1%, really rich. It's a rich flavor at 1%. Slight creamy note, but not much at all. The mouthfeel was incredible though. It was just a full round mouthfeel. What I also found was it's quite sweet. There's like a powdery sweetness to it. So I think it can work really well at 1%. As a powdered sugar even, all right? And I think it can work very well as at 1%, in a mix, if you just want to sweeten up, for instance, bakery, or if you want to fill out some date spots in your mix and then inherently add some sweetness to it as well. very, very useful at 1%, I think. Then at 2%, it was very sweet. That cream cheese note just really comes through. It's 100% there from 2% onwards. The mouthfeel is solid. Nice, rich hints of butter start coming through at 2%. I went as far as saying this is pretty much like an icing one shot from 2% onwards. It's a full spectrum flavor. What I mean about that is, I get that powdery sweetness almost on top, the cream notes, in the middle, and then I get, that buttery notes at the end. So, three-dimensional, if you want to call it that. Yeah, it's lovely. I really, really enjoyed this. Deets, on application. You've tried this recently, right?
So with applications for me, first off, this is one of those concentrates for me, which I find not very few of, but not the majority. I would say half or very too little of my concentrates. If you crack it open and you take a smell of it, there's what it smells like, and then there's what it tastes like. With this, what you're smelling is what it tastes like. Depending on your percentage, as you mentioned, from lower to higher percentage, it's exactly what you are smelling. And if you're smelling it and thinking it's going to work in a recipe, by imagining that flavor in that recipe, that's what you are going to get. So this is very easy or very, very great to mix with, because it gives you a very good indication before even tasting the juice of what you will get. And I enjoy that a lot about this. It can also be used as an authentic light and fluffy cream cheese icing with cakes and bakeries. A smooth and creamy frosting with a true sugar profile on the icing. And then can also be used as a thickener for milks. I would personally say as a thickener for milks like a yogurt type of milk, or that dairy beverage that requires that creamy sour type of profile. So with milks, but specifically I would put it more towards the sour type of fizzy type of milk, or something like that. It has a good dairy profile to combine where there's a dense dairy needed at a lower percentage in an additive way. And I personally see potential for this one with fruits, because I mix a lot of fruits mainly. I see a lot of potential with this for fruits, where you would normally need something like a creme fraiche to kind of be the canvas on the background for the fruits, and where you would need a recipe that calls for something sour or tart at the same time. Now, I personally do this a lot with something like lemon Sicily and creme fraiche, or lemon Sicily and FLV cream. Those two together, the cream would be the backdrop for the rest of the fruits to be more visible. And the lemon Sicily would just pop that sour or that tart, where this one single additive can act as both of those. That's what I think it would be good for. I'm still testing and playing around with it, but it's a really good concentrate for that. I really like it as a yogurt. It works very well for that tart, again, dairy flavor that complements a yogurt. Specifically for me with Greek yogurt, it works very well, because Greek yogurt is a very clean yogurt, and it definitely has its own tartness, but this kind of gives that full rounded tartness to a yogurt for me. This is a flavor where you are either not going to like it, or you are going to like it, and where you like it, it's going to work probably for everything you throw it at. For me, it's like the Fuji of the apple Fuji, or Fuji apple of the fruit world. This is the comparison, the Fuji of the creamy icing world, in my opinion. You have to have this in your desserts, or in your stash if you are a dessert bakery, or a sweet. I would say sweet, creamy anything, and tart. It works for a lot of things. I've seen ID10 Idiot mention that he uses this in combination with meringue to give a stellar or a very great icing. And a few people confirmed by saying or commenting on that combination of meringue and cream cheese icing for a better icing. So give that one a try. Some people feel it has a chemical taste initially. For me personally, I did not get that, but I have only used it at 3.5%. So maybe this chemical or funny aftertaste is for people mixing it at very high percentages. But up to 3.5%, I get no funny taste, and this is literally the day after shaking. So, I mean mixing. So you'll mix it, it'll stand a few hours overnight, and it's fine with no funny tastes for me. I've used it as an additive, I would say, from about 0.5% for cream base, and then with that tartness as well. I would say it can also work 1 to 1.5% as a sweetener in an icing way, or an emulsifier with a light frosting. And then 1.5 to full is a full-on frosting with strong dairy notes. And this is more attention on the fact that imagine cream cheese icing, not a pure sugar or pure white sugar, butter sugar type of icing. It's a lot more because of the tang. This is definitely a must for the sweet bakery and icing lovers. And then I would also say the steep on this, you should expect between 7 to 14 days. But in my experience, depending on what you use it with, like for instance, a yogurt, this can be great as a shake and bake. Actually, I think it's great as a shake and bake regardless. But a lot of people that layer it would, because it's layered in, requires the steep of between 7 to 14 days. It's an awesome concentrate, really. So I love it.
I'm one of those that gets the chemical taste. This for me is a month steeper minimum. That's just how it works for me. I mean, other people will be different, but I generally, when I mix with this, I leave it for a month. I mean, people have different sensitivities and so on. I'm obviously a little bit sensitive to it, but I found that even if you get that too tangy chemical note when you've mixed it, leave it for a month and that just goes. It's like Vienna cream. The longer you leave it, the better it gets.
That's very interesting. At what percentages are you using it? I'm interested.
Generally around the 1 to 2% range. I generally don't go
higher. That is even more interesting for me. That's so weird. That is so weird how different people taste different things.
Yeah, I just tried it now again, and this is at 2%. I don't get a funny chemical taste to it over there, but I think I know where Richard is tasting that. But something about my setup over here is just not getting the exact same thing.
I think it's similar to the pepper thing in VBIC. You either get it or you don't. Either you're a tangy off note taster or you're not. I am a little bit, but I found that this with a good steep, it goes. And then it just, once it blooms, man, you've got one of the best concentrates ever.
Yeah, I'm not sure why we haven't spoken about this sooner. I'm so happy that I tested this out now, because I can just think of like a million applications to use this. Like how you would use Bavarian cream really low just to fill out dead spots in your mix and inherently add some sweetness and darkness. You could use this to fill out dead spots in your mix and inherently add like a lighter tangy sweetness. You know what I mean? To your mixes, and it works for me just off a shake. It's already delicious, even after a day spin, it's super delicious. But yeah, anything else, guys?
Yeah, my whole thing was, we've had, Loran have shown that they're not that interested in the vaping market. So there's been kind of stories that, LA will drop out of the DIY scene and their flavors won't be available anymore. I can say with absolute certainty, I don't mind if every single Loran flavor goes, except CCI. CCI is the one. If I go into a DIY online store and that's the only Loran flavor, cream cheese icing, I'm happy. I don't need anything. I don't need their lemonade. I don't need their watermelon. I don't need their banana cream. Just give me CCI. That's all I ask for. Loran.
Yeah, those are the three bangers of them, right? It's the LA lemonade, which I think one of the best, if not the best, and then the banana cream, which is a super runty candy banana, but I mean, still popular when it comes to banana creams. But yeah, guys, anything else? No?
Just back on yours, my top three is LA lemonade, watermelon. Obviously, Perillum watermelon is just that cut above LA for me, but it's the cream cheese icing, the LA watermelon, and LA lemonade. If they close down, they've got to sell that to someone where we can still get it.
Although for me, the two LAs lose to their big rivals. The big matches are LA versus TFA in banana cream, and LA versus FW in lemonade. And I prefer the non-LA in both. I prefer TFA banana cream, and I prefer FW lemon. I mean, it's not that bad flavors, but I can live without them. CCI, I can't live without.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, Flavor West lemonade is delicious. I agree with you. Okay, cool, guys. Like we always say, if there's anything that we didn't cover here from a note perspective that you know of, please leave those in the comments below. If there's any recipe that you've used this in that we didn't discuss, please leave those in the comments below so that other people can find them. But thank you very much for watching. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.